Are your hands still moving?
So what happened first?
What happened first? She got tied up by who? Carnell. And he tied her up good. And then the first person walked by. What happened with first person? Didn't really care. Not interested. Actually, they saw the sign that said, I'm hungry, and what did they start talking about? How they were hungry. Their own issue. Okay. What happened next?
Then the second person came in and gave her food, but just left it there.
So, second person, Megan, came in, and did Megan help you, Nikki?
A little.
How did it feel when Megan was feeding you?
Well, I was hungry, but it was kind of uncomfortable.
It was uncomfortable?
Yeah, it was kind of uncomfortable, and she didn't do a whole lot.
I noticed that you hadn't finished eating one chip, and she put the next chip in your mouth, just feeding you.
And I couldn't really get them in there all the way even.
Right. Uncomfortable. Okay, what happened next? After Megan fed Nikki a couple of chips, then what happened? Alandis came in. Alandis, did you talk? He tried comforting her. How did Alandis comfort Nikki? Let's hear a little bit more about that. Seeking vengeance? Yes, he did say he would seek vengeance. Besides seeking vengeance, what else did he do? He talked softly at first. He said, oh, I'm so sorry that you're hurting. I feel so bad for you. He felt, there's a word for that when you feel bad for someone else. What do you call it? Sympathy. Another word is empathy. They're both about the same thing. He had sympathy for Nikki. Now, Nikki, how did that make you feel that Alandis had sympathy for you?
I mean, it was nice enough, but he didn't do a whole lot of anything.
Right. So it feels kind of good. It's somewhat nice, but didn't really help. And what happened last? What did Gracie do? She rescued her. She actually freed her from her chair. So we're talking about service learning today, and we're talking about our very first thought we're going to talk about is, are we going to do, sometimes they call it relief or development. There's two different sides. Really about empowerment. That's the word to write down on your paper, empowerment. And empowerment has a lot to do, there's a whole system of empowerment that you might have heard of. Who's heard of the saying before, you can teach, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. However, there's another part of that saying that one of my heroes, Dr. John Perkins, said. He said, but then you have to ask, who owns the pond? And who issues the fishing license? And who makes the rules? Talking about a little bit beyond that. Because you can teach someone to fish, and they have no opportunity to feed themselves if the pond is off limits. Right? And they have no opportunity to do any kind of empowerment. So in this scenario, Nikki needed food. She was hungry, and she got food. And that would be relief. Like, she was in pain, and she got some food. That's relief. So relief, you can write this down. Relief is meeting an immediate need. So if someone doesn't have clothes, giving them clothes. There's a story about one of the early popes in the Christian church, and didn't really want to be pope. He was a monk, and I can't remember if it was Innocent or Urban, one of those two. But anyway, he would go out into the town, and every single time he would come back to the place where the pope lives, he would be naked. And his staff was saying, you can't walk around naked. He said, well, I would go out and I would see someone that was without a coat, and I would give him my coat. And I would see someone without a shirt, and I would give him my shirt. And as the story goes on, they started dressing him in 2 shirts and 2 coats. And he would still come back with no coats and no shirts. And the point of it is, he was saying, if someone needs something, I'm going to give. And that's a big part of the Christian tradition. All traditions, back to the very beginning, is relief. Jesus feeding hungry people, healing people. So what are some examples that you guys have done of relief? Meeting an immediate need. Anyone have an example? Has anyone ever gone to a feeding program before and helped out with feeding programs? Anyone good? Has anyone ever donated clothes to like a Goodwill or something like that? Those are all relief. Now, the second part of what happened to Nikki was the empathy, the sympathy. Have you guys seen those TV shows where the commercials where they show a hungry kid? It's usually in Africa or in Haiti or something, and they have the distended stomach and flies on their eyes, and everyone feels really bad for them. And that's the sympathy part. And the sympathy or the empathy, sometimes it helps, but in general, doesn't do a whole lot. And in fact, there's some really great things about child sponsorship, but there's also some really maybe scary things. For example, some kids get letters from their sponsors and some kids don't. So then how does the kids that don't get letters feel? And then sometimes people sponsor children and then they move or they go to college or something and they stop sponsoring their kid. And then what happens? And sometimes some kids get gifts and some kids don't. So like World Vision, they moved to a model where you sponsor a child, but it goes toward the whole community instead of that one individual child. So if something happens, the sponsor stops paying, they're not immediately kicked out of school. So empathy can be helpful in some cases, but is empathy going to solve the problem of Nikki or anyone that's hungry? Is it going to solve it? If someone says, I feel so bad for you, does that really help? Not so much. It helps a little bit, but not really. The last part is development. So we have relief on one side, and that's good, but the other side is development, which is the empowerment side. And development can really be defined as developing the capacities or the skills or the strengths or whatever of the person to solve their own problems. Which do you think is more impactful long term, relief or development? Development. Now sometimes you have to do relief. You're not going to teach someone job skills if they're hungry. You got to give them a sandwich first. But in long term, you really need to do development. So we're going to talk a little bit about those today. We're not going to go through all these slides because there's so much information just to get the main things that you really need to know. In ULA, we focus on service learning. You don't have to write any of this down if you don't want to. But service learning, the only thing I want to say on this one is it's learning through service. And how do you do that? You ask questions, you research, and you reflect. We want you guys to ask questions, do research, and reflect. We're going to skip all that. So here's the real example. Cleaning up a river is service. Sitting in a classroom looking at water samples is learning. So what do you guess service learning would be? Doing both, Izzy said. Explain how that would work. Testing the water you're about to clean up. Yes, did you have something to say?
Oh, me, no. I was scratching my head.
Perfect. All right, so doing something to test it and to learn. So we want you to learn and serve. This one's pretty simple. Two things you can do. They're both good. One is service and one is volunteerism. Volunteerism is basically doing something good, like with church or Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or whatever, without getting paid. And a lot of times volunteers focus on relief. So when I was a kid, we always used to go pick up the trash on the side of the highway on the Adopt a Highway program. Has anyone ever done that? Yeah. A few people, like no one. I did it all the time. It was not a good service learning project. I did not learn a whole lot except for what to do when vehicles threw a beer can at you. That's about the only thing that I learned. And I did a lot of volunteering, and I definitely did not get paid for it. But service is something different. It's basically helping without it, so it's a way of helping. It says here different contexts, but service is more where you're serving without asking for payment. Types of service, we'll skip that. The only thing I want to mention here is advocacy. Advocacy is serving on behalf of others by using your voice. We have Izzy here. I'm going to use her as an example. Her service learning project involved all three of these. She helped people directly in their apartments. She also helped their building, which helped them indirectly. But the main thing that Izzy's project did was advocacy. And you want to tell a little bit how that works? Come on up, tell us. I didn't give her any warning on this. Come on up. She's learning on speaking. How did you serve people by advocating for them?
All right. I talked to the city councilor and then the representative of North Side. So we got to talk to Don Samuel.
Tell us what the project was.
The project was helping out some apartments. Which one of the guys that live over there? And what we did was just the apartments were pretty bad. So what we try to do is improve them. And there was a lot of violence around. So what I did was talk to Don Samuels, and we went from there, and they fixed up the outside a little, and now there's like more security and stuff going on. Wow. So that's pretty cool.
Thank you. Now Izzy is really modest, so she didn't tell you the whole thing what she did, but she went to city council members and other people and spoke to them about the slumlord that was running a building, and the people that lived there, their lives were improved by her going and advocating on their behalf. and there's a ton of stories about advocacy. It's a project that's kind of a leadership level project because you're trying to influence the whole social situation. Has anyone heard of Save the Children? It's a fund. And that is the sort of thing where they advocate on behalf of Congress and governments to try and find ways to improve child welfare. Okay, right now you guys are remembering about 5% of what I say. Very low. Because you're reading it on the screen, maybe up to 20%. Nikki did a demonstration for you, maybe 30%. We're going to talk about it a little bit later in a discussion group. Maybe you'll remember 50%. But this afternoon, and every day in the ULA, we are going to practice by doing. That means we are going to go out in the community, and you and your small group are going to serve at a community service organization, and you're going to practice all you've been learning about leadership there as you're serving. You're going to practice what you've been learning about teamwork within your team as you're serving. You're going to be practicing what you're learning about God and theology as you're serving. So hopefully you will learn and remember a lot more. If you then take this information back and you share it in your youth ministries or you share it among the people that God has given you influence over, you will then remember about 90% or more. If you teach it like 10 years in a row, you'll remember 110%. You'll remember every last part of it. So what I'm saying to you is, as you're thinking about this leadership project, what are you going to do to put it in action? All right, we're going to skip through some of these because this is the only part that I want to hit before we move on to the next thing. When you do service, I think it's the next one. Oh, here it is. Wait. I like this quote. Who can read the quote by Abraham Lincoln really loud? All right, Willie. William.
We don't learn from experience, but rather by reflecting on that experience.
How many of the people know that is so true? We do not learn from experience, but rather by reflecting on that experience. Here's an example. How many of you have had friends that their parents have said, if you talk back to me one more time, you are grounded? Has anyone ever experienced that experience? Or their friends? Yes. And then they get grounded, and that whole week, they spend the entire week complaining about how they can't go to the movies, and how they're so bored, and how stupid their parents are. And then the second they get off punishment, what do? They talk back to their parents, and they go right back into the circle. That is what we're learning about all of us, is if we don't take time to reflect, we didn't learn anything. So how do we do reflection? This part, I only want you to write down the words what, so what, and now what. This is how you are going to reflect when you do service learning. Pre-service, before you go out and serve in the green, it says you're going to establish your learning objectives. You're going to talk about what do you want to learn. One of the groups today is going to be going to a nursing home, and they're going to be working with the elderly, and they're going to have an ice cream social, and they're going to help bring the ice cream out, and they're going to sit with the residents and talk to them. So you're going to think about what are some things we could possibly learn from this event. Can you guys just give me some examples? What could you possibly learn from that? What could you learn? Yes?
You could learn how much people are struggling without the help of young people.
Very good. You could learn about intergenerational separation and how they're struggling without young people. Yes, Jared? You could learn their story. Very, very interesting. Yes. Anything else you could learn? Jackie?
You could figure out what you want to do and if you really like being in a community you want to go into.
Good. She talked about career exploration and figuring it out. What could you learn maybe about the nursing home? Not? You could learn what? Any ideas? Yes. Gabriella?
The problems in the nursing home, like what are they missing?
Yeah? You learn about what they're missing, what they need. Yes, Laurel?
I say what they need and like how they operate.
How they operate, yes. See, there's a whole host of things you can learn. There's millions more. You think about what could I possibly learn. Some people in this group probably do not like being around hospitals or nursing homes. Maybe you don't like the smell of old people. I've heard that before. And you could learn, how can I overcome it? I've heard some people say that. Maybe you guys want to set a goal that our team has not been working that good together, so while we do this ice cream social, we're going to use it as an opportunity to test our teamwork. You could learn about yourself. You could learn about whatever. Then the next part says meaningful service, observation, and analysis. How do you do the analysis? This is how you do it. You ask, what happened? So you say, what happened? And someone says, says, while we were at the nursing home, this one old lady held onto my arm and she wouldn't let me go, and she had to tell me her story 5 times. You know, that's the story about what happened. And then someone else says, I met this really nice old man, and this happened to me last year, and he kept giving me kisses on the cheek, and he wouldn't stop. That happened. Or you could say, I met the nursing home lady, and she was so rude to those clients. She just kept saying, go here, go there. Or you could say, this one nurse's aide kept pulling people aside and talking to them. So you talk about what happened. Then you say, so what? Basically, what does that mean? What does it mean if the staff treat the clients poorly? What could mean that. What does it mean if, I'm just asking hypothetical questions, what does it mean if people are so desperate for someone to talk to, they tell you their story 5 times? You think about what it means. That's where you learn. And the last part is in red. It says, now what? And that's your new understanding and new application. You say, so this happened, and this is what I thought about. Now what am I going to do? How does that change my view? Maybe I'm not going to look at a nursing home in the same way. Maybe I'm going to choose to volunteer on a regular basis. Maybe I'm going to think about what happens when my parents or my grandparents get elderly. What's your new understanding? So think about what happened, so what did I learn, and now what? Maybe you said, our team did a really great job of connecting until we started getting on the bus, and then we started fighting. Now what's our new understanding? Next time we go out and serve, we're going to work together on the bus rides to have a good time. Those are examples. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else we need to cover?
Do you want to cover any of this?
Or you can do a little bit of this. We'll just do this really quick, and then this will be the last one, because I don't think any of these other ones we need to go over. All right, we'll do this one. We don't view you guys in the traditional view. We don't view you, students and leaders, as people who sit back, who are passive, who take up our resources, who are just consuming what we're giving, who need a lot of help, or who are just recipients and victims. We try to look at our group and our leadership as service learners, service leaders, who are resources to the community, who do things, who are active, who produce change, who give help, who give and who are leaders. So that's partly why we do service learning in ULA. And in fact, for the next year, this is what you're going to be doing, is you're going to be service learners. ULA is 3-2-1. 3 days at camp, 2 weeks at the academy, 1 year of service learning where you develop a project, kind of like the one Izzy told about, and we can talk further in the week about what those projects are, but throughout the academy we kind of practice doing service learning.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a second here. These are some ways to do questions. We already did that.
I don't want to get too much into details.
Now, what I want to make sure you guys do, when we post this video online and you start getting ready to do your project, I want you to go back to this video because it's going to help you in your leadership and understanding what needs to be forward. Everything that Rachel has communicated today is something that I know she talks fast.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
She's really good, great communicator. She talks fast, and maybe you didn't write down everything. This will be posted online. We want you to go back, get it, and when you start ready to lead your own project, we want you to be ready. Right, Lamont? I know you're writing on somebody else's folder, so I just want to make sure that you're not writing notes for them.
Back in 6th grade,
Let them write their own notes.
Back in 6th grade, my school, we had to do these projects on how to help companies that what is it? I forgot what I was getting ready to say.
Thank you. That's okay.
I'm thinking one second. Hold on. And then, yeah, you're supposed to help companies, like you'd raise enough money throughout the school, and then you help companies. I can't think of it.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, it's like a fundraiser thing.
Yeah?
You're supposed to come up with a way how to get the money.
Okay, and that's great. And you know what? We've got some more stuff about fundraising and different things like that a little bit later. But this is one thing that I definitely want to do before we break into our groups is we want to make sure that you understand what it is to set pre-service goals. Does everybody understand that? Yeah. What it is to set goals before you go to do service. And this, want to be clear. When you get done at your service site, we want everybody sitting up. and their hands out of there. James, you wake up too. James? All right. So, what we want everybody to do is before you leave your service site, or maybe if you have to leave right away when you come back here, we want everybody to do post-service reflection. That means you talk about it before you do it, and then you reflect on it after you do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so we're going to break everybody up into their groups.
Before we do that.
Oh, hold on.
Ooh, nice. We have some time, so I had one, and this is the one slide I wanted to go through. You don't have to write all this down, but as you are reflecting, what are the things you need to reflect on? Just so you know what kind of questions. You should, if you want to write them down to remember, you can, but the first one is knowledge. What did you think about it? Second one is comprehension. Was it what you expected? Was it not? Application. That's the so what. How does it change your life? Analysis. You can talk about what parts were hard and challenging for you. If someone has a hard time, talk about it. Synthesis. That means putting things together. What have you personally learned about yourself? And lastly is talking about the site itself. Evaluation. What changes would you recommend? Because you're not just going to get in there, you're changing to evaluate. The last thing before we get into groups is there's a mentality out there, and it's either the victim mentality or the victor mentality. Okay, let's define. What's a victim? Tell me what a victim is.
Something that happens to someone.
Something that happens to someone. Let's get someone from this side. That's very good. Very, very good. What's a victim? Someone? Yes, Anthony. Very good. Someone who has no control over the situation. What is a victor? Person who wins, yeah. Yes. Is it? Oh yeah, but victor, I don't know. You can tell me what you're going to say. Someone who wins. What else? That's very good. Thank you. A victor, someone who wins. And kind of thinking about what Anthony said about a victim is someone who has no power. A victor is someone who has power and control. When you go to the service site, you can go with one of two mentalities. You can go with a victim mentality. What would a victim mentality sound like at a service site?
You feel bad.
You feel bad, Ashley? Man, why do we gotta do this? I'm so tired. I don't want to pick up this stupid stuff. They said we were gonna get to play with kids, and instead of playing with kids, we have to sit out here and pick these weeds. I don't like that. Man, I don't want to paint this thing. I don't have the right kind of clothes. I'm gonna get paint all over me. I'm so tired that they're making us do this. Oh, that's a victim. That says no control, and things are happening to you without your control. I gave the example of what would a victor sound like as they're serving?
Let's go.
Yes, good. Let's do it. What else?
Let's pull them weeds. Oh yeah.
Pull them weeds. We can. All right. The can. The power of the can. That's right. Good. They're listening. A victor says, maybe this particular thing that I'm doing is not that fun. Like, for example, I do not like changing diapers. Do not like doing it. But I do love having children. So when I come to change a diaper, I can say, oh, P.U., this stinks. And Junia loves it when you say P.U. when you change your diaper. She thinks it's funny. But the idea is you can, and so if you don't, she goes, can you please say P.U.? It's really funny. But you can have a victim mentality and say, oh, I hate doing this. I wish I didn't. Why can't you just learn how to use the potty? You know, you can have that. Or you can have a victim mentality and say, this is part of the overall process of growing a child. And picking up weeds or helping kids or serving elderly is the overall process of becoming a leader. You can say, boy, I really do not like doing this, but I am learning something, I am growing, I am helping someone. So sometimes we go to sites and things don't go as planned. One year we did send some students to go and they were told that they were going to be working with kids. When we got there, they said, we really don't need you to work with the kids. We have enough people. We really need someone to clean out the storeroom. And the storeroom had old expired food in it. And they were not happy about having to do that. And I understand. I'm not like cleaning out my fridge either. But then they started talking about what does it mean if people are donating food and it's not getting to the poor and it's just expiring. What does that mean about the system? What does that mean about the people who are donating the food? And they had some amazing learnings and they became victors instead of